The New York Jets have made a sneaky signing, but there's one angle to it that nobody is talking about, and you probably already heard about the quarterback change, but an NFL insider has the reason why this will impact the future going forwards, and we have to break all of it down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Football 365. If you're a New York Jet fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. But getting into the news for today, coming from Jets insider Rich Cimini, the Jets have signed veteran defensive tackle Khalen Saunders. The team announced he's played for 3 teams, most recently the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if we go to the NFLJets.com, there is more information for us about this signing. They wrote, Saunders, 6'0", 324 pounds, was a third-round draft selection, number 84 overall of the Chiefs in 2019. The Western Illinois product spent 4 seasons in Kansas City, appearing in 38 games, starting 5 of them. He was a member of the 2019 and 2022 Super Bowl teams and appeared in all 6 postseason games during the championship seasons. So this is a guy who has experience playing in the playoffs, which is exactly what the New York Jets are looking for. I actually want to keep that image secret for a second, but this guy has experience that is going to help the New York Jets build the type of culture that Aaron Glenn is looking for. He's trying to build a championship culture, which is very, very difficult when you haven't won a championship since 1969. I understand that, but the first way to stop being a poverty franchise is you need to stop acting like a poverty franchise. So bringing guys that have already done it, bringing the guys with the experience, bringing guys who know how to win championships. Winning championships isn't just all about playing better than everybody, but there's more mentality things that go into it that you may not see behind the scenes where it goes on. So these players that have been backups and even played on those championship teams, they know things that our guys don't know, and they can teach the younger guys what it's like to, first of all, have a season that is that long. When you're making it all the way to the Super Bowl, that is a significantly longer season than most players on the New York Jets have ever experienced. So the experience of Saunders is going to come into effect in a big way. And also, note the height weight of Saunders, 6 feet tall, 324 pounds. He comes in 23 pounds heavier than the 305-pound Quinnen Williams, who we just shipped out. Aaron Glenn is looking for huge dudes on the defensive line. He wants to get in really big. I sound like an idiot talking right now. I know. He wants to get really big guys on the defensive line. It's deeper than that. He's looking for guys that are like big for the NFL is like 300 pounds. He's looking for even bigger than that. He wants to have one of the biggest defensive lines in the league because it allows you to do different things schematically. When you have bigger defensive linemen, the trade-off is they're not going to be as fast or athletic. So his goal is he's going to have 2 bigger than average defensive tackles, and what they can do is they're going to be more pests in the run game, whereas they're not going to be as good in the pass game, but the edge rushers are going to, in theory, take care of that. Also, when you have defensive tackles that are heavier than average defensive tackles, that makes it so you can play lighter personnel groupings on the back end, so we can play more nickel defense alongside those guys, because the expectation is the defensive tackles will take care of the run, where we can have 5 defensive backs or even more than that flying around on the back end and taking care of the pass game when we are facing the pass on defense. Now, this picture, you may remember this play, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Saints a couple of years ago. I think it was last year. Saunders picked up a fumble and actually ran it for a pretty long way, and all the announcers were laughing. They're like, he looks like he has some running back in his background. So they went on a deep dive. They looked into the background of this player, and they realized he was a high school running back. So Saunders gives the New York Jets another option on offense. And I'm not saying move him to running back. What I'm saying is this is a player who knows how to play offense, and he can actually give the New York Jets a fun little wrinkle offensively. Look at the Detroit Lions. They're always on the cutting edge of what you can do offensively and thinking up crazy offensive tactics that no one has thought of before. And a whole lot of successful offensive teams have done stuff like putting in a defensive tackle at fullback or a tight end and just giving the defense other looks that they now have to account for. So Saunders is a guy who can fill in as fullback. He can fill in as running back, and he can just put in another creative wrinkle for defenses that they now have to take care of. And I know, Breece Hall is a better runner than him, but you have to be creative offensively. When it comes to a 4th down and 1, if you can make a defensive tackle or a linebacker think just an extra half second, that may be the difference between us picking up that important 4th down and then turning it over on downs. So that's why you want to have the ability to be as multiple as possible and be able to give defenses as many looks as we possibly can. And putting him in an offense is something that the New York Jets need to look into, and something that I'm very excited for, because we don't have a whole lot of things to be excited for as the season goes on. If you haven't heard it, today Aaron Glenn came out and announced the news that the New York Jets are benching quarterback Justin Fields for Tyrod Taylor. Apparently Glenn was leaning towards Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor to be the starter before the Cincinnati Bengals game, but then Tyrod Taylor went down with an injury, forcing Justin Fields back into the starting role. And then when the Jets went on a 2-game winning streak, you can't take out the quarterback then. But after the Thursday night offensive, debacle for the New York Jets, it wasn't even a debacle for us. We've certainly seen worse offensively. Honestly, it was a bad night for the wide receiver group as a whole, but Justin Fields is not going to be the starting quarterback moving forwards. And NFL insider Zach Rosenblatt tweeted out, the reality of the situation, the rest of the season is all about 2026. They need to spend it evaluating who can or should be a piece for this team next year, especially on offense. They need a quarterback capable of at least delivering these young wide receivers the ball. Justin Fields was working to counter that. Tyrod Taylor was obviously a flawed quarterback, and the Jets aren't going to win a lot of games with him either, but this had to happen for the sake of evaluation. Now, what Rosenblatt is talking about is the rest of the season, we need to evaluate everyone in the building top to bottom. It starts with Aaron Glenn, but it goes down to players like backup wide receivers and backups everywhere on the offense and everywhere on the roster. But what we need to take a look at by making this move is taking a look at what we have in the receiver room. Offensively, when Justin Fields was the quarterback, we had to shift to a run-heavy RPO style offense that it was the only way that we were going to be able to win games or have a real offense with Justin Fields. Because if we looked earlier in the season, when we called real concepts for Justin Fields, he couldn't handle them. He would drop back, take the snap, and would just look around until he got sacked. Or he would one read and then take off and go. That's not giving us the best opportunity to evaluate what we have in the wide receiver room. We just brought in 2 young wide receivers that we want to get a really good look at in Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie. AD Mitchell had a tough game versus the Patriots. Hopefully he can bounce back. I know a lot of Jet fans are very encouraged from what they saw from him route running wise, but of course dropped too many passes. Really, Justin Fields' night should have been significantly better on Thursday night versus the Patriots than it was. Adonai Mitchell had a little bit of a hand in making that night worse. But on the bright side, the other new pickup that we're finally seeing for the first time was John Mechie, making it into his second game for the New York Jets. He caught a touchdown pass from Justin Fields and proved what he could look like for the Jets in the future, which is another flanker Z-type wide receiver, a smaller guy, shifty guy who's good at running routes and is going to be handling routes underneath while Adonai Mitchell or Arian Smith or maybe someone else in the future handles the deeper routes. So we got to figure out what exactly is this wide receiver room going to look like going forwards. We need to figure out who do we want to hang on to at the wide receiver position, who do we want to let go of, and to figure that out, we need a quarterback who's actually going to throw the ball. Now, is Tyrod Taylor going to throw some interceptions? Definitely. Is he going to win us games? Probably not. Is he going to throw for 400 yards a game? Probably not. But what he will do is give us the opportunity to run some sort of a real offense, get out of the little baby offense we were running with Justin Fields and have a real passing offense going forwards so we can get a real look at everyone going forwards and we can actually determine if Tanner Engstrand can call a real-time passing offense instead of that offense that we had to design for Justin Fields. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, appreciate you taking the time to watch it. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Jets.